Welcome to Speed Vector, the podcast dedicated to the art, risk, and obsession of speed flying. I'm your host, Victor Garcia, speed flyer, skydiver, cinematographer, Navy veteran, and full-time gravity junkie. Every week, we dive into the lines we fly, the gear we trust, and the stories that push us past the ridge and into the void. Whether you're just learning to launch or chasing the perfect line, this is where speed flyers come to connect, learn, and stoke the fire. This is Speed Vector. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Speed Vector podcast. This is episode number 31. And man, have I got to tell you, I am excited about this one. When I started this podcast almost a year ago, I did it with the intention of this episode. Not necessarily my guest specifically, although he is on the list of people that I want to get on here, like the dream list of people that I want to get on this show. But more so, what he says in this episode is the reason I started this podcast. I literally have goosebumps recording this intro right now, reflecting on the conversation that I had last night with Mr. Joey Innes. Little funny side note, I have been mispronouncing Joey's last name the entire time I've known of him, which is spans, at least the last 4 years. I've called him Joey Ines for a very long time, and you'll hear, it took about 3 seconds for that to get corrected. 3 seconds into recording, I should say. And he's just such a nice guy. So humble and so just well-spoken and intelligent and grounded and has a ton of wisdom as far as life goes. And also, of course, in speed flying. And we dive pretty deep into this one. I seriously could have probably talked to him for 6 hours. Basically, I hope that there are more episodes to come with him because, he's just an amazing voice and obviously one of the best pilots in the world currently. And his story is, it might surprise you. It's, I learned a few things about him that I did not know. And it was a pleasure. And I hope that you guys enjoy it as much as I did, because I thoroughly enjoyed this. All right, here we go. Mr. Joey Ines, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. Hey, can we make a little correction?
Oh, did I mispronounce your name?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
How? Okay, tell me.
Yeah, it's Innes.
Innes. I've been saying Ines in my head like forever, like as long as I've known of you, which is way longer than I've been speed flying, to be honest.
Oh man,
yeah, Innes.
so good.
Wow,
Innes, yeah.
I'm learning things. I'm so sorry. Goodness, that's a great way to start, man. Like, hey, let me just mispronounce your name. Oh, gee.
All good, man.
Right on. Where are you calling from?
Well, I'm calling from a friend's house in Wengen, Lauterbrunnen, Switzerland.
The jealousy is real. That place, like I was saying before we started recording, that place just looks absolutely beautiful, like a postcard everywhere you look. Even out, the window behind you, it's just mountains and snow and just sheer beauty.
Yeah, it is. It's melting fast. It's turning into spring really, really fast. Yeah, I would say summer. Yeah, it's there's very little snow at even 2,500 now.
Wow.
Well, there's no snow on the west and south faces at 2,500. So
wow,
it's crazy.
Yeah, we're having a similar situation here. It was like I don't know, 37 degrees Fahrenheit the other day, and today it was 80 Fahrenheit. So, I mean, yeah, it's like winter straight to summer. There's really hasn't been much of a spring, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it is what it is. Well, so Joey, you have by far one of the most recognizable styles in this sport. And what I'm really curious about, just to jump right into the deep end here, right off the bat, is when did you start thinking about how you flew versus just flying in general?
Good question. Wow. I'd say I've always been analytical about my flying. Since the beginning, I've used a GoPro on my head just to analyze my flying. And when I started, I bought a wing off a paragliding forum in 2014, and I had a couple of days in the UK. I'm actually kind of self-taught because I did my first flights alone, but then I had a friend help me, Thomas Foote, a climber from the UK. He helped me for a day, and then I went to Chamonix in the summer and just basically started from the Plan Pra paragliding launch with no idea what I was doing really. And I just remember a friend of mine, Harry Bloxham from the UK, from the University Alpine Club. I was doing some alpine stuff with him, alpine climbing. Anyway, he told me just to keep making turns, and so that's what I did. I just kept making turns with a big Jin Yak 16.5, which is like the light version of the Bobcat. Probably no one's heard of that really now, because for speed flying, because they're no longer made and they're no longer really considered speed wings. But that's what I started on, and I just kept going down 1,000 meters at a time, Plan Pra laps, and just making big turns, connecting them, kind of like how you train skiing, and that's kind of how I started, and I just kept doing Plan Pra laps like thousands of times, basically for the first months. Actually, so after 2 weeks living in Chamonix, I think it was 2 weeks, maybe it was a month. Maybe it was actually a month. I downsized to a phaser to 12, and then on the first day I set up on the edge of the paragliding start. I didn't realize there were like bigger trees on the side of the paragliding takeoff and like below, and I had a bad start. I was deep in my brakes and I basically stalled into the trees. I'd had a grade 3 sprain. I managed to like crawl up because I didn't want a heli to come for me, so I shouted up to my friends. I crawled up the hill, and then I was just passing out and having like a seizure and stuff, and trying to get to the lift with my friends. And then the next day I had to go to the hospital actually because I had like a pretty nasty concussion, and they checked me out. But that was my beginning of speed flying.
Wow.
I was out for a month after that, and then when I was able to run again after about a month, the lifts were closed because it was interseason. It was like the beginning of October, so I just went hiking, looking for some hike and fly, some launches, and I did a couple of those, and then it was winter and I started ski launching. Yeah. Sorry, let's go back to your question, which was my flying style. Like, how did I develop the flying style? I'd say my style has changed quite a lot, actually. Most people don't realize I started in 2014. I guess because I disappeared in 2018. I disappeared from speed flying because of a spinal cord injury, and wasn't sure if I would even speed fly again. I thought I wouldn't speed fly again, actually. It was a strange time because I was very lucky to get my legs back. I was in a wheelchair, partially paralyzed. I could at one point I could just barely move my toes. And then after a couple of months, I was able to walk. I was very, very lucky, very lucky. And once I was back walking, I would see the mountains in the same way that I saw them. Always, like, I saw lines everywhere, and I didn't want to speed fly them. You know what I mean? It was very strange. I saw the lines, but I couldn't imagine myself speed flying again because I had a trauma, and then basically I started at some point I bought a mustache, and I started flying like small, like I bought a Bantam 10, and I kind of started flying smaller wings again, and then I realized, like, okay, I might as well just buy an R38. So I bought an R38, and then I bought a 6, and now I'm back on 5.9. I'm back into speed flying after, I think that was in 2021 that I started speed flying again. So I disappeared for 3 years.
Wow.
Anyway, I had to start flying again, basically, and that meant I came back with a slightly different feeling. I find every year, actually, I come back a little bit new, because normally I take a break in the winter where I ski, or I fly way less, and each year I come back a little bit with a new mind, and it means I always have changed a little bit, and I like it. I think it's really good for my flying. But basically, when I came back, I always used to fly in breaks. From my beginning until 2000, until even in 2021, when I was flying the R3, I was flying in breaks, and then I started playing with the rears. I was lapping the line here in Wengen from Menleken, where you can do a lot of laps, and I realized that I was actually slow. I was flying slowly, or slower than I could fly, and I started flying on the rears, and then I just, at the beginning, it was like difficult to fly terrain because I was way faster than I was used to being, and then so I had to add margin, and then I kept doing it. It was fun, and then I found I was using bridge a lot, and then like in the last couple of years, I've been flying where I switch from rears to bridge, like, constantly. You see, like, mid-roll, sometimes I start the roll on the rears and then go onto bridge to finish, or vice versa. I don't even know. But I was switching constantly, and now I'm mostly flying only on bridge, and maybe like tweaking my hand to add some Cs. Yeah, so I'd say my style, I mean, that's just hands. Also the legs, I started to stick the legs out for performance, basically, for speed, reducing the drag, which means that like, you can still fly steep, you just need to make bigger turns when you have less drag. But I like it because you go faster, you have more power in the wing, and it's faster. Yeah, I think for me, speed flying is now about trying to go as fast as possible, and the margin I have is just what feels comfortable and chill for me, where I'm not afraid I'm going to hit anything. Yeah. yeah,
There's a lot to
that's
unpack
it
there.
really.
That is amazing. Yeah, man. You just checked so many boxes of my curiosity because I obviously watch your videos, and I know Pat Hennessy spent some time with you and Jamie Lee a couple months ago, and I was with Pat like 2 weeks ago or whatever, and he was talking about how you like pencil your legs, you like stick your legs out, and he said it's for what you said, aerodynamics, and you get a little bit of lift when you need it under your legs, and you're cutting less air because you're not taking up as much space. It's just science, it's physics. And it's amazing to hear it, you actually say it, right? Confirm basically what Pat was telling me. But it is a very unique style because I mean I've tried it and I think I get tired or I get distracted. Like I have to focus on keeping my legs in front of me and like out
Hmm.
like you do. Um, I'm assuming you don't think about it. Obviously, it's just like you just get into it and you hold it, and that's your position, and that's how you fly. But was that something that you like had to kind of mentally work towards? I know it's like super nuanced, but I'm just curious. Like, when did you like commit to having your legs forward or your feet
Yeah,
forward?
good question. Good question. When I first tried it, well, I actually did it at a grassy spot in the in Stad, which is a valley, a couple of valleys away. Um, it was a flat grassy spot. I was with Benny Kalin, and yeah, I just started leaning back because it was like a flat grassy chairlift that we were lapping, and uh, I wanted some extra performance, so I just started leaning back. I'd seen him swooping like that, and so I thought, oh, I'll just try it. I was with my R36, and I was also trying the line prototype in size 9, and yeah, I realized that there was like as soon as I leaned back, I could see in the video there was like a 15 to 20% increase in speed. I'd say at least 15% at those speeds. I mean, it the effect from reducing your drag will diminish with lower speed, right? So the faster you go, the more that drag is a component in your speed. Yeah, this means that it's only really a topic at higher wing loads or when you want to go really fast, so that's why I don't encourage my students to do it mostly because I think it's way more important to focus on a normal controlled body position where you're quite centered and quite compact. Like in acro, they teach you to put your legs, your feet towards your butt, basically, and kind of lean forward towards the risers. I don't do this. I don't suggest people do this really because I don't think it's good to be between your risers too much because it means that you can't really weight shift beyond the riser. But yeah, I think for most people they should not be worried about drag. I think it's just something that you might want to play with when you're at higher wing loads and when you're bored of everything else, right? When you, especially not before you start flying on rears and bridge, which
Fair
also
enough.
becomes more suitable for higher wing loads, smaller sizes. I think more so smaller sizes. The wings fly better for me, in my opinion. Yeah, it's the smaller sizes, they respond better, they handle better on bridge and rears. Yeah, and it's more efficient. And if there is any reflex in the built into the profile, you'll have more stability when you're not pulling on the brakes as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, with bigger wings, I don't get a lot of feedback from rears at all. Like and I was playing with it on like an 11-meter original Mirage, and I was like, like I don't really like it. But then when I got on a 9-meter Rapidos, I felt it, and I was like, oh, okay, like that's how that should feel. And that's a 9-meter. I can't imagine what a 6-meter would feel like, I mean, I'm sure it's everything you want in your hands. It's like instant response and it doesn't take a lot of input, which is also why they're dangerous for, newer pilots that want to fly something like that. It's like, okay, but if you flex your left butt cheek, you're probably going to do a left barrel roll. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't take much to get them to do it, which, before I get into that, because that's a whole nother rabbit hole I do want to go down. I'm curious, do you think the R36 and the Line 9 are they comparable speed wise, or does the R36 just blow it out of the water?
I actually did a video. It's on YouTube. It's called Salbach Recce or something. It's yeah, I did the same run with the Line 8 and the R36. Or was it even the R3X 5.9? Anyway, the R3 is faster than the Line 8. Like the R36 or R3X 5.9 is faster than the Line 8.
Wow.
Actually, I know it was the 5.9. Yeah, it's faster than the Line 8. So
that does make sense. Yeah.
Also, like Yvonne following me, she follows me on a Line 8, or sometimes I follow her. She's on a Line 8. I'm on a 5.9. If I'm barely fast enough to follow her, but as soon as she's following me, she's not fast enough to follow me either. It's quite funny. So I think it's the Line has a bigger speed range. I think like it can fly slowly, which also means that it can take off more easily. I think that's why a lot of people like speed flying with the Line, because of the speed range. You can take off slowly and then fly very fast. Yeah. Sorry, let's get back to the question. What was the question?
Oh, I don't even know.
What was faster?
Yeah, no.
What was faster, the R3 or the Line? Yeah, R36 or the Line 8. I'd say the R36 is faster.
Sure.
Not a whole lot faster. You can see in my YouTube videos. There's one where I fly both in Austria. Yeah,
I'll definitely check that out. I'm surprised I haven't seen that, because I feel like I have been attuned to, like, especially comparison videos. Like I'm a total wing nerd. I love geeking out on all the new wings and old wings and stuff. So I'm surprised I haven't seen it, but I will fix that. I will definitely be watching it. I'm
it wasn't really a comparison video. I just posted both runs where I checked out the spot and did it first with the Line and then with the 5.9.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, either way, I really enjoy your videos. And man,
thanks, man.
Yeah, of course. Before I forget, because this is important. So you basically had two traumatic events within the sport. Was your spinal cord injury flying related, or was it separate?
It was flying related. Yeah, I can go into that if you want. I'd say I've had more traumatic events probably. I'm just like trying to go through everything.
Yeah. Well, no. I would love to hear about the accident, but what I'm curious is, I mean, and you said that you took a hiatus. You left the sport for better part of 3 years, it sounds like. But I mean, what brought you back? Because like I broke my leg last June, which people that listen to the show have heard about it ad nauseum. And
yeah, I listened. Yeah.
I appreciate I appreciate that. I still struggle mentally every single time I fly. Like I haven't flown that much really since June. I mean, maybe 150 flights since last June. It's almost been a year, right? And I did like 450 flights the previous year. So like I was hitting it pretty hard, super current, felt really confident, right? But then there's like this mental block where like I don't know if I can fly until I'm in the air. And once I'm in the air, like not to completely go off track here, but I flew an 18-meter code on Tuesday, so a couple of days ago, and I was shitting my pants on the launch for no reason. Like perfect conditions, super chill, 300 feet. Like it's really short. It's a hill, with some rocks, but it's mostly grass. I got in the air. I made like the gentlest right turn and I was kind of soaring. It was probably like 10-mile-per-hour wind. And I
Mhm.
had this like amazing experience where I felt all the tension released from my body in like this wave of peace. And it went from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, but like in a way that I could literally feel it working its way down. Like, I mean, it was probably a matter of a second or two, but it like was very profound. And I mean, it was just like, this is exactly what I want to be doing, exactly what I should be doing. I can do it. I've done it, you know, enough times to know what I'm doing. But, and the reason it stands out so much is because I was so nervous before that. And then I got into the air and it was like total peace. So I'm curious,
Mm.
like how, and I just broke my leg. Like it wasn't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. I didn't have a spinal cord injury. I wasn't, massively concussed like your first incident on the Fraser 2 12-meter. Um, you know, and I'm just curious how you got past all of that mental trauma from the physical trauma and got back
Mhm.
into flying.
Mhm. Good question. As I said, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't have imagined myself speed flying again. It was a very odd um, mindset for me during that time, where I'd kind of let go. I'd been forced to let go of something that I identified as or identified with so deeply. Like I felt like the core of my identity had been ripped away, you know. Um, and at the same time, I knew that it was strange. It was challenging for me because I really identified as a speed flyer. It was kind of what gave me my sense of being. Uh, it was probably the besides rock climbing and writing software throughout my life, it's been the only thing that I've done consistently for a long time. So I definitely felt that I identified with it. It gave me a sense of being. Um, so it was challenging to lose it, and at the same time, I I I felt like if I depended on doing something to be me, then it's not really that's not a very that's not the best version that I can be anyway. So I really did some inner work to try to figure out why I depended on speed flying so much just to feel um, like a whole person. Anyway, we can get into that later. But I started paragliding at some point basically after a year of walking and running, and I started rock climbing again. So I got you know strong rock climbing again. I did a bunch of sport climbing, um, and climbed about as hard as I ever had for on-site and flash, um, and then which was really funny actually because I don't feel my left foot anymore, or I feel very little of it. So I can run, I can walk great, and yeah, I don't feel like the outside of my foot. I just feel like the a little bit of the inner arch and a little bit in my big toe, just a little bit.
Hmm.
So I basically I developed a proprioception using my muscles rather than the sensitivity in my skin. You know what I mean? So I know where my foot's pointing based on how I'm activating my calf, for example.
Interesting.
Yeah, that just happens. Your brain does that automatically when you lose some kind of ability. You just develop something to replace it. Yeah, so I'm able to do everything, but I just have to be very careful. Walking barefoot, for example, because I don't feel the foot. That's actually one reason I walk barefoot. because I'm training this ability to use my feet rather than leaning away from this impediment. I'm leaning into it. I'm trying to get tougher skin. Like I'm using some product and like a moon rock kind of to toughen the skin on my foot. I'm walking barefoot a lot. I think this seems to be effective. Anyway, I think I wonder if leaning into something like that actually does better than leaning away from it. We'll find out. I have had issues with the foot. Like I had to go back to the hospital. I went the spinal clinic, like the spinal cord. Sorry, what was it called? Swiss Paraplegic Center. It's like it was like the hospital where I went to recover after my surgeries. I went straight there, and I was there for 2.5 months. Same hospital that Lane went to when he was injured here in Switzerland. It's a very good place to get your legs back, I'd say.
It
very
sounds
good.
like it.
Yeah. We see how well Lane did, and his situation was more severe. I'd say his spinal cord injury was more severe than mine. It seems, because he had to work very hard to get back, and I was super lucky that within 2.5 months I was walking and kind of running again, and then rock climbing. So I'd say I had as much luck as you can possibly have. Anyway, I always drift off in some direction.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, I mean, man, I can't imagine how difficult it must be to fight through or work your way through an injury like that. I mean, that's pretty hardcore. And I know it happens in life. People get injured, people get paralyzed, and they adapt and they become, the best at whatever it is that they're doing now. Like whatever it is they can do. Like I've seen it with a ton of athletes. There was a professional mountain biker from Spain. I can't believe I forget his name, but he broke his back at Red Bull Rampage this past year in like October, I guess. And just like paraplegic, waist down, and watching him, through his social media and stuff, just pivot, and now he's like, he was sit skiing and he's like doing a whole bunch of other stuff, and he's just continuing to live. And like, that's what you have to do, right? You have to continue to live. But it's, I don't know. I mean, did it change anything about you psychologically or physically, or like how you see things? Like, did your life change that day? And then going forward, I don't know if that makes sense. How to like,
it makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. It did. Yeah. I mean, as I said, I couldn't imagine speed flying again. Right. So I'd like lost one of my biggest interests, passions, I'd say, or I'd been forced to let it go. And just to consider doing it again took me years. It took me a year of paragliding or even more. And then at some point I just I felt that it was the right thing to do to get back into it. But it's definitely more serious for me now. Like I'm all fun in games in the mountains. I really try to have I try to have a good mountain spirit, but when it comes to taking off, I'm very serious about what I do, and speed flying is absolutely dangerous for me. The way I see it in my mind is it's an objectively risky activity with high potential for injury or death. And that I don't think will ever change for me. Before I had this kind of blissful ignorance of the absolute risks, and now I think it's front and center for me, like even I've been flying for 12 years now. I've seen all kinds of accidents from other people, and I've seen people get seriously injured even doing relatively benign takeoffs and flights. I've seen all kinds of things go wrong in situations where you might think it's quite relaxed, or not really severe terrain, or like a really easy takeoff. I've seen people break necks and break legs and ankles, and I've seen all kinds of stuff. So it's we can make it as easy as we want, and it's still objectively risky. I mean, you're running as fast as you can off a hill with a relatively small wing. It's obviously dangerous. I think I think once you've got like 1,000 flights or something, then it starts to get even more dangerous, because you have this I had this idea that it was that I was experienced after 1,000 flights. I had this idea that I was good, and nothing could stop me. And I'd say the most dangerous point in my progression was between 1,000 and 2,000 flights. I flew a lot, also without GoPro during that time. I just flew many times a day. And in Chamonix back then, there was basically me and 2 other people flying like every day, or even one other person basically flying every day. I was pretty much the only one flying like every day, every single day during those years. And Chamonix back then was very relaxed with it. There was because there was no community really. We could do whatever we wanted. We could land in small landing areas right next to the lift stations, so we could and there were so few people doing it, we didn't have trouble, and so I could do a lot of flights there very efficiently. And also there were less tourists, or it seemed that it was more efficient to get back on the lift, especially on the Plan de l'Aiguille midi lift. So we could do a lot of flights very efficiently. Now it seems that flying in Chamonix is less easy, because there is more of a community, and there are challenges that they've been working hard to resolve, challenges with the paraglider community, and also with the mayor, the council. I don't want to get too much into that, because I'm not living there, and I'm not part of that community really. So
fair enough.
I'd rather not talk falsely about anything there. But I'd say it was very easy back then when I was living there, and now it's now we see it also in in Les Deux Alpes, in many French resorts, actually French areas, ski areas. It's become more complicated as the number of speed flyers has increased, and the number of accidents has increased, and everything. I do wonder what will happen, because with the change in the trends of like the winters are getting shorter and warmer. What are these ski areas going to do to maintain business? I feel like speed flying is a good thing for these ski areas that can do quite well in summer. At the moment, the number of speed flies is relatively small, but it might not be so. Especially if the ski areas welcome speed flying in summer, then just like mountain biking, they can do quite well out of it.
Definitely.
We'll see. Yeah, I think for me, I'm personally kind of impartial. Like I don't really care personally how ski areas choose to handle this sport, speed flying, because I'm happy hiking and flying, and I don't need the ski areas anymore. But all of the people that are starting to get into the sport, the people that benefit from doing thousands of flights, it's super important. Like I wouldn't have developed as a pilot in the way that I had if I hadn't had access to doing more than 1,000 flights per year in Chamonix. That was really, that allowed me to develop efficiently as a pilot. And I think that if that's super important for all less experienced pilots. I think to try to become a really good pilot without lifts is very hard, and people do it. We see there are very, very good pilots that have few flights. I've noticed this actually. Like it took me thousands of flights to get to where I am now. Thousands and thousands of flights, and I see my progression was very slow. Actually, like I have no talent. I have no natural ability. No advantage. I've just got a lot of flights, and my progression is so much slower than what I see today. And it just goes to show, like back then the bar was very low and very few people were speed flying. And had I started recently, man, I would never catch up the people that are getting into the sport now, because as I said, I've got zero natural ability. It's just been a lot of flights. That's it.
Well, so I mean, if you look at the Fraser 212, right, and you compare it to there's no R3X12, but like R3X11, it is astronomically a better wing. So do you think that a lot of the progression that you see, in 2026 is, natural ability and talent combined with the technology and innovation of the wing manufacturers and the wings? Or is it like, I mean, I'm sure that there's a spectrum, right? But like, or is it more that the wings are just so good that it's not as difficult to get, like, to progress fast, I guess, if that makes sense.
Good question. Yeah, I think probably the best analogy we can give is something like skiing. Skiing became much more accessible, much easier, much more fun, let's say, where with the advent of rocker, fat skis, powder skis, skiing became and even like first I guess it was side cut, like before the skis were straight and stiff. And all these like small innovations in the ski made the skiing much more accessible, much more fun, playful. And I guess the same has happened with speed flying over a relatively shorter time frame. yeah, so I think there's definitely an element of the wings becoming better. That we've got more range now. Like with the phaser, you could pop the trims open, and it would barely dive. It was just slightly steeper. The profile was very thick, lots of drag. So you had a small speed range as well. Yeah, the wings were inferior to what we have now, absolutely. And yeah, I think back then the solution was to just to use a speed riding wing. Like I for the longest time I used a Gin Fluid Original in size 8, and I stayed on that wing for many flights. I mean, for sure more than 1,000 flights. I think closer to 2,000 flights I had that thing. I remember sat in the shack where I used to live in Chamonix. I was just like sewing the trailing edge back together because it was falling. The wing was literally falling apart.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I have no idea how bad the trim was. I kept replacing the rise, like fixing the risers as well, because there was no trim system on the rears. It was on the A's,
Yeah.
So you had to like pull the A's in, and if you did it within like in flight, then you would wear out the trim system pretty quickly. And then after like a handful of flights, you'd have to replace the trim system. So then I had to adjust it, before takeoff, and then I got used to like starting with like 8 centimeters trimmed down, like or like even all the way, like, but for sure like 3 stops out of 4.
Wow.
Like and then sometimes with a tailwind as well, so like this is then when I then Ozone France gifted me the Rapido 6.5, the original Rapido 6.5, and this was in 2016, end of 2016. I started flying that, and it was just like a whole nother activity. It was so much easier to take off because it made more lift.
Right.
So much easier to start, and it was good because it was the right size for me. I'd always been flying something that was too big and not really efficient. Yeah. So back to like, has speed flying become easier, or is that
well, easier is not the right word, because it's still hard. I mean, you don't, nobody within their first year of flying is doing anything remotely touching what you and Jamie and Patrick and all the top pilots are doing. But I don't know if people would be doing what they're doing if they were flying the first generation, second generation wings, because it just, like you said, I mean, you had to like work for stuff. It wasn't necessarily, and I'm not saying, I'm not like talking about anybody in specifically. It's more just like a general, like from my perspective, I have flown older wings and I have flown the newer wings, and the newer wings are easier to fly. Like they just, like you said, they launch better. There's more speed range. They dive. They do all the stuff that you want them to do. Whereas the old ones didn't. You had to work. You had to like make it do what you wanted to do, and you had to like to get to step number 3. You had to do 1 and 2. But now I feel like I can get to step 3 by just doing one thing instead of having to do 2, if that makes any sense. Definitely not casting shade on anybody, because I mean, quite frankly, like, I mean, I've had guys on this podcast that are a year, maybe 2 years deep, that are doing like outrageous stuff that I would never consider at my ability, at my skill level currently. Right. I mean, and I'm also super cautious with stuff, but that's beyond the point. But and I mean, like you said, it's natural ability, and I totally agree. Like I think that there are a lot of very gifted speed pilots in the world right now. I just think, and I guess what I'm curious from your perspective from the original question is just like, yes, there are a lot of natural gifted pilots. There always has been. There always have been. But do you think that the wings and the technology has like magnified them or pushed them even further ahead than they would be if the tech wasn't quite there?
Absolutely, yeah. Like just like with the skis, the kind of flying we see now is just enabled partly by the wings. Of course, we've got wings that glide better, wings that dive better than the old ones. They're faster, so it looks better. Yeah, I think the steeper a wing goes, the more elegant the flying's going to look as well. You know, because pilot has to work less hard and turn less hard to follow the terrain. So I think maybe I've been wondering this actually. I think this is why speed flying steep terrain is easier for a lighter pilot, and speed flying in flat terrain is easier for a heavier pilot, because I'll never get the performance of a heavier pilot. When I say performance, I mean the product of speed and glide. Like how fast am I in flat terrain? Because I'm light, I'm 59 kilos. I'll never get the performance of a 90 kilo pilot. Not even close. It doesn't matter what wing I fly, really. I'll never get the performance of a heavier pilot. And this means actually that me being relatively like light. I'm not very heavily loaded on the 5.9, right? I'm loading around a little over 10, somewhere between 10 and 11. And this means that I go steep very easily because I don't have to work so hard to take off. I'd say I take off easier than a lot of people on a size 8, and yet I can go easily very steep. The wing just dives; it falls out of the sky. People tell me when they're following me, like, dude, how do you go so steep? And I think it's just because I'm on a small size and I'm not even that heavily loaded, so I can start it anywhere. Like, like I start the 5.9 at Kronplatz pretty easily. I like anywhere that someone can speed fly pretty much. I can start my 5.9 pretty much. And that's just because I'm not very heavily loaded, but it also gives me quite a big range on the dive side, but I do lack performance. When I say performance, I mean glide and speed together. So I think being a heavier pilot means you're going to do better in flat terrain, and it's going to be harder for you to fly steep terrain because you glide better, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
What would your like optimal size wing be? If you could
for
just,
me,
like, yeah.
Good question. I've flown size 5 foot launched, and that was like quite chill. Like actually, way more relaxed and kind of normal feeling than I expected. I was almost disappointed, that it wasn't like intense. I was like, man, awesome, but like we need a better one,
Right.
We need a good one.
That is wild. That is wild to hear. I'm like, yeah, I'm laughing out of like amazement. I mean, I don't think I would have ever thought I would hear someone say like a 5-meter wing would be chill, but I mean, I hear what you're saying though. Like I understand.
I think it's just my weight. It's just my weight, and also I have very long legs for my height, and I have very long legs for my weight. And I have a pretty fast cadence, and my stride is big. Like if you watch videos of my takeoffs, I run like very quickly.
Yeah, you're a gazelle.
So I think I can pretty much run my trim speed.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I'm probably kind of harsh when it comes to critiquing takeoffs, because I'm critiquing it from based on what I can do, right? And it's my personal opinion for myself that I want to be able to basically run my trim speed. If I can't, then I'm limited in where I can take off. Because the takeoff has to be steep enough that I can basically fall into flight. I see like most people taking off with some brakes, like the whole way through their takeoff. Like you'll see the wing a little bit behind them, and then they'll be just taking off with the little brakes, and even the last step, it's like a push, like almost like a jump, and then they add some brakes, and it looks like they're eating into the margin a little bit, but this is because I'm gifted with a very fast run and a low weight, so I can run my trim speed. But I think if I can't run my trim speed, then I need to upsize, and I think that maybe a lot of people see speed flying like a recreational activity rather than a sport, and maybe the necessity to develop a running speed, a sprint, is downplayed and underrated. And I see that there are a lot of people flying at high loadings, like higher loadings than myself, that have a weaker run than myself, and then that's fine. Everyone gets to decide how they want to do it, but I think for myself, speed flying is the most physically demanding part of speed flying is the takeoff. And I think that being able to take off in a wide variety of spots comes down to your running ability, basically. Can you run your trim speed? And I think it becomes much safer if you can run your trim speed. I don't see anyone, or I haven't heard of anyone like training running. I've looked into it recently, and I'm also working with one of my best friends, Gregorio Ciaccoli. He's an osteopath based in Chamonix and Courmayeur, right? And he's helping me to be better on my feet. Osteopathy is like a holistic approach to medicine, where and he's a specialist in barefoot training and movement, like functional movement. So he's helping me to be better on my feet, and this will result in a more efficient, powerful stance. And basically it's quite a deep topic, and yet quite simple at the same time, but I find it super interesting that I can probably increase my running speed by 20%, let's say. I think I can probably get 20% faster. Wow. And that's going to unlock being able to fly smaller size with more performance, because normally in wing design, the more performance you have, like the more glide performance, the faster you need to fly. You need to fly through more air in a given period of time to so that you are inducing less drag. You need to the wing needs to work less hard. Whereas if you fly very slowly in that same period of time, you're going to go through less air, and therefore the wing has to work harder to create that same amount of lift. Therefore, it will induce more drag. So basically, the faster you fly, the more efficient you are.
That makes sense. But that requires that you fly faster, which means you have to launch faster.
Yeah. So for me, what my personal goal for speed flying now is flying smaller sizes, and also trying to get more performance. When I say performance, I mean glide performance, but while also maintaining or even increasing how much dive we can get. This is difficult because we have with more glide performance, basically you're going to induce less drag and you will inherently dive less. But I think that there are solutions, which I will not dive into.
Yeah, yeah, no, you don't need
um,
to. Are you working with any specific company with that, or is it like your own project? Are you working on your own wings, or
you
you also
know, I would love to. I would love to share. I
don't?
would love to share what's happening. I would love to. I think in future we
Cool,
can talk about it. I'd love to talk about it in a future episode.
fair enough.
For now, I can't because I'd have to clear it with the people I'm working with.
Got it.
So
Yep, yep. I got it.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Non-disclosure agreement signed. I understand. I totally get it. That's really exciting. I mean, and everyone listening, just I don't know, get excited. Use your imaginations a little bit. I guess I'll be doing that. That's really cool. Obviously, so you're at the cutting edge of the sport, right? You're doing, I mean, the lines you fly, the way you fly them, your style, the wings you're flying, everything that you've said so far, and yet you also have this side of you where you teach. So like I've noticed on Instagram where you've like on your stories and stuff, like you're teaching people speed flying. Is that a big part of your journey? Like when did you decide that you wanted to teach, and kind of how did you get to that place?
hmm I started helping people to fly in 2015, probably something like that, or even before. I'd say 2015 for sure. It was like one of my best friends. Yeah, I used to live in a shack in the forest in Chamonix, like a cabin in the woods next to a river, and yeah, one of my best friends that I shared the shack with. Actually, two of my best friends that I shared the shack with wanted to speed fly, and I I helped them to speed fly, and in exchange they taught me how to ski, and they took me skiing. Um, yeah, yeah, it was a beautiful exchange. Um, so that was kind of the beginning of my sharing knowledge in the sport. Uh, yeah, I always did it basically for free. I did some guiding in Chamonix for ski and fly, the speed riding camps back in around 2015, 16, something like that. But other than that, I've been very like relaxed and open to share the knowledge. I just enjoy trying to share it and just help people stay safe. And now last year I quit my job as a software engineer in Switzerland. I decided that I was going to make my living as a a mountain athlete, uh, as a speed flyer, somehow, whatever that meant. You know, um, I just noticed that I needed to be outside basically every day, that I was burning out. As a software engineer, it was not ideal for my body, my eyesight, my mental health. I was basically I reduced my working percentage, my working load down to 60% for a year, which was really nice because I was earning good money, and working like 3 days a week. That was really nice, but it still felt like a compromise. I still had to be in the office 1 day per week. I had to be present. I had to be part of that company, and so it was much more in balance, much more aligned with my being, but I felt that it was still a compromise, and I thought, hey, let's just take a risk. Let's take a step in the direction that I want to go, without a solution, without a running business. Most people, they kind of have a side hustle and then they gradually scale it up until it replaces their income. And I didn't do that. I just decided to live off my resource, my savings basically, and I still trying to cover my expenses. I'm still working towards just being like financially sustainable. So yeah, I'm doing the camps with Soaring Spirit, the camps and events. We actually have a free event here in the Jungfrau region of Switzerland, coming up on the 11th to 14th of June. This is just like a gathering to just share our love for speed flying in just a bit of fun. Really, it's not for beginners, because I want people to be able to do the more interesting lines here, which all have demanding takeoffs, like serious takeoffs, like cliff launches or just takeoffs with serious consequences if you mess it up. So that's why we're excluding beginners. But yeah, I think this is something that I want to do more of. Like just more speed flying meetups, like small ones. Like we'll definitely cap the number of participants to keep it low key, so that it doesn't create a mess, or doesn't attract too much attention. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. Like we have some camps. We have one in Georgia and one in Romania at the end of the summer, August and September. These are open to less experienced pilots as well. Yeah. So this is something that I love doing. I love organizing these little retreats, camps, let's say, and I'm really, I've always loved coaching. I love coaching people that are genuinely interested in getting technical and trying to learn how to do it more safely. And yeah, I always approach this coaching with like trying to make it safe. Trying to make it as safe as possible. And for me, that comes down to starting with the least demanding takeoffs and landings and terrain, and gradually increasing the seriousness. Yeah.
Logical
and I think
progression.
yeah, it should be. It's normally just natural. Like we start as easy as possible, and we gradually turn up the heat as they get more comfortable. And I also like to do drills with people. Like if we have a takeoff with a lot of space and no paragliders, we can just do some drills. Like practicing inflations. I always teach that you should visually inspect your wing before you commit to the takeoff. So for me, the optimal takeoff process is to pop it up, check it, left, center, right, like check the whole wing. Has it got any deformation? Do you see anything weird? Do you feel anything weird? And if it feels good, then we go into the next phase, which is building speed. And at that point, there should be no reason to abort, because you've checked it. visually everything's good. The wing is in control. It's above your head. Let's go. And I think if you do this, then you should never have to abort with speed, which means your takeoffs should be consistent and like reliably safe. You know? So I think for less experienced pilots, you want a takeoff that allows you space to be able to inflate the wing, look above, check that there are no tension knots or cravats or anything. Feel your brakes. There's no wrap around the brake pulley. And this is all stuff you can check before you pop the wing up. You check your lines and everything. But I just always do it during the takeoff as well, because something can happen, that you can get a tension knot or something can get messed up. Maybe you get distracted talking to a friend when you're ready to go with the risers in your hand. Maybe it's possible that somehow you get a tension knot, even though you already checked your lines. And we've seen this, like this guy in Norway, Andreas. Apparently he checked his lines before taking off, but he didn't check them during the takeoff. And I think it's more difficult to check with a line, actually, because the speed that you need to build before the wing is even inflated and above your head is more than a conventional speed wing.
Certainly.
So it's more difficult with a line, but I think it's just something that I think it's something you need to do for a sustainable, like long-term career in the sport. Like I've taken off with a tension knot in a 6.5 in my Rapido 6.5. Luckily I was in Garda with a lake. So I landed in the lake, on the edge of the lake, because I saw I was going to break my legs if I tried to land it,
Yeah.
It was super lucky that I had the lake, so I know how, and it was a tension knot like near the wingtip as well. It wasn't even like the worst kind of tension knot you can have, but the wing was very unstable. It was really bad. Yeah. So I know now to like always visually check during the takeoff, because a tension knot is like, I think if you fly 10,000 flights in your lifetime, most likely you will get a tension knot at some point. Most likely. And if you have a habit of not checking once the wing is above your head, it will catch you out at some point if you fly a lot. Probably.
I've had one with 600 flights. So, and it was my second flight back from my injury on a wing that I was borrowing from my friend and mentor who has a school. It was, like a 15 meter 2RS or something. And I checked the lines but whatever I launched, I looked at it, not as honestly, like you have some really good videos on your Instagram, like outside perspective videos, somebody filming you of your launches. And it's like, I can see it in my head when you're talking about it. Like you get the wing up, you look at it from wingtip to wingtip, and then you start sprinting. It's brilliant. Like I need to be more intentional myself, but like anybody that's listening to this, go check out Joey's Instagram, because that is how everybody should do it. Because I mean, I agree. Like you start sprinting and then you got to abort. Like it kind of sucks. But if you're not sprinting yet, then it's not that hard to abort. So, but no, 15 meter, like in similar situation, but not on a 6.5. So like lightly loaded, and I was able to fly it, fairly straight. Made a really gentle. It was like right, like one of my D lines close to the wing tip. Like it was not great. It was like deflecting quite a bit, so it was turning me right. So I just gave it, enough left brake and harness turn left, and it kind of flew straight. And then I was able to kind of do a really flat turn, and then just punched a flare right at the end. And I PLF'd, and it was my second flight back. I didn't have a wing at the time that I was comfortable flying, like, because I couldn't really run that well. I mean, I wasn't running fast. So I'm like, I need to fly something slow. And then, yeah, the 15-2RS, I mean, awesome wing, but, I wasn't diligent enough to get all the twists out of the D lines before, student wings, they get
Mm-hmm.
kind of trashed. So
Mm-hmm.
it's in perfect working order, but, um, at the moment it was not, at that moment, it was not great. So, but yeah, I can't imagine on a 6.5, like the amount of instability that you must have experienced was probably pretty scary. So yeah, check your wings.
Yeah, yeah. I think had I not had a leg to land in, I would have been most likely a little hurt from
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
bet.
yeah, yeah.
With not even just with your students, but with kind of newer pilots in general, in this day and age, what mistakes are you seeing like most commonly?
Mm. I think the takeoffs
Mm.
are the in general the weakest point for most speed flyers, and I wouldn't even limit that to beginners. I'd say for everyone, our takeoffs are the weakest, the biggest weakness. Um, yeah, I think I see a lot of people take off with too much brake throughout the takeoff, but also in the final steps, people are using the brakes to get into the air, to create a little bit of lift, and that's okay, kind of. But it's not optimal, you know. I don't think it's optimal. It means that you didn't generate enough speed with your legs, and so you're trying to compensate by using the brakes. Um, and what it means is that your size is too small, in my opinion. But as I said, I'm opinionated. I'm gifted with long legs and a light body weight, so it's easy for me to say it, you know. But yeah, I think that after you have done your visual check and everything's looking good, the wings in control, then you start building speed. Then I think your last steps when you want to get enough speed to fly, like you can start slowly. Like I pop the wing up with barely any speed. You know, I pop it up, I check it, I've got no speed. That's the minimum, just the minimum to keep it above my head, right? Just to kite it. And then once I decide it's good to go, then I'm slowly accelerating. And my aim is not to be fast before I need to fly. My aim is to be fast when I want to fly. So then I'm saving my energy. You know, I just go kind of smoothly and slowly, faster and faster, gradually faster and faster, building the speed with each step. Or even I normally give myself as much space as I can comfortably give to do all of this, you know. So I set up at the back of the takeoff, and it's a huge oversized takeoff. Yeah, I'll set up at the back, I'll pop it up, check, you know, and then I'm just kind of jogging or just almost walking until I decide that I need to build up some speed, and then I build up the speed gradually, and then I am at max power for 5-6 steps, something like this, maybe a little more, depends on what I feel. You know, if there's no wind or if there's a tailwind or something, then I'm going to use more space to build that necessary speed. But I know that I can output that max power for a very limited time, so I'm going to use that right at the end. That I'm going to use my my capacity, you know, my full power. I'm going to save it until a few steps before I want to get in the air. You know, basically, I think you can build up that once you can be something like 80% of your speed, you know, before that. And then those last few steps, you're going bam, 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 like really full power, just to get that little bit of speed to get to 100%. You know,
Right.
yeah. So I think that's like an efficient takeoff. You know, something you can repeat, 10 times in a day easily. Yeah, yeah. I think Also, something that I like to see is that people they let the wing a little bit in front of them by being very much hands up, in their brakes. Because when you're braking even just a little bit, you're slowing the wing down, and at the same time you're trying to generate speed to take off. But the harder you brake, even just a little bit, the harder it's going to be to generate the speed to fly. So that's why I like to see people letting the brakes up, letting the wing shoot in front just a tiny little bit, because it can shoot just a tiny little bit in front without collapsing. This is not like right at the edge. What I mean is during the acceleration phase, you want to be letting the wing shoot a little bit, because then it's going to help you. Then it's going to allow you to accelerate. If you're braking, it's working against you, as you're trying to accelerate.
Right. Yeah. And then you see people, get airborne and then roll back into their harness and go hands up, and then they dive because the wing was a little behind them and now it's in front of them because it's right, like it kind of pushes forward. Is that do you notice that a lot with people that are too in the brakes when they're launching, or that are in the brakes, wings lagging a little bit?
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, the wing will dive if it's not above your head.
Right.
But I think that's also due to it lacking speed. This is why I don't want. This is why I don't like to see people using their brakes or overusing their brakes beyond control during the takeoff. Yeah, I think optimal. Trying to squeeze through a door.
You're on the move.
I wanted to sit outside, but it's actually still fresh. It's like 7:30 in the morning. Was good though. Nice. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah. No, I was just kind of got snapped into like visualizing or picturing, I guess, what those mountains look like where you're at, because I just caught a glimpse and I was like, oh my god, it's pretty there. It's pretty wild. What a pretty
it's
place.
Beautiful, man.
What a beautiful place.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I feel super lucky.
Where are you from originally?
I'm from the UK. From a little village just south of just south of Stroud, a little village called King Stanley in southwest of the UK.
Okay.
It's like near Bristol.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I grew up like rock climbing and yeah, my dad took me climbing, me and my sisters climbing when I was really young. And then as soon as I was old enough to like take the train without my parents, like to use public transport on my own, I just went to the nearest climbing gym as often as I could, and then I started going to a bigger climbing gym in Bristol, and then I met like older people that had cars and stuff, and they took me rock climbing. Yeah, they took me with them, and yeah. Then I at some point I saw some photos of a friend. He posted some photos of him alpine climbing in Chamonix, and I was just blown away by the view, and the beautiful granite walls that he was climbing. And I wanted to know, well, like, where are you, man? Like, where is that? It looks beautiful. And he told me it was in Chamonix, and I should go check it out. And I did that. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I started alpine climbing in 2011, I think. I think it was my first experience at alpine climbing. Before that, I'd been doing a lot of like free soloing, just to like build the ability to like be relaxed and cool in exposed terrain. I've kind of intuited that was a good approach, based on what I had around me to prepare for alpine climbing. So I did a lot of free soloing of like classic rock routes. Yeah.
Wow.
And then it's funny that I never wanted to speed fly specifically. You know, I started flying as a solution for getting down from alpine climbs. Yeah, that was my intention. You know, I had some epics where we were, you know, going from summit to back to town. It took like a day or two, you know, to get back. And then I was like, man, there must be the easier way, like being on the summit and like dreaming of that burger you're going to eat when you get back to town, and knowing you're going to have to wait like a day or two to get there. It's
Yeah.
like, man, there must be a better way to summit and then get to that burger.
Oh, that's funny.
That's why I started flying. And I even then I didn't know about speed flying really. You know, I saw that you could fly small wings. Like I saw this guy flying a Jin Yak from Annapurna. You know, this old YouTube video. I saw this and I was like, whoa, I need one of those. That's exactly what I need. I knew nothing. And I knew nothing about speed flying, nothing about base jumping or wingsuit flying.
Right. Talk about.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Man, that's just crazy. Yeah, like flying off Annapurna, like back then. I mean, yeah, to have the gusto, you know, to like run off Annapurna is pretty gnarly. There's a guy that did it on K2, like 2022 or something. The North Face just put out a really good documentary on YouTube. It's like an hour long. It's so good. This guy's like, you know, set the speed record. I won't give it all away, but he was trying to set the speed record on K2 without supplemental oxygen. And he's also, you know, like paraglide pilot. So he took up his like, you know, what Skywalk pace or whatever, like 14 meter. And like did some stuff on K2 and then he flew off of it. And I'm like, God, like that's so gnarly. I mean, I can't even imagine like whatever, 23,300 feet. I don't know. It's like well above 8,000 meters, you know, with a single skin 14 meter, like pretty gnarly, but it works.
Yeah. It works. It's clean. You know, it's within the spirit of alpine climbing. It's not assistance, you know. So
for sure.
It's super cool. It's very cool. Yeah. And then, you know, when I'd done my first flights, I hadn't even considered you know, really what terrain flying is, you know. And then, of course, at some point I discovered Jamie and Malachi's videos, you know. And yeah, I used their videos, especially Jamie's, just to you know, I was analyzing their flying, you know, and I watched them on repeat, you know, just trying to figure out what they were doing, because they were much better than I was. You know, they were the best at terrain flying at the time by far. Yeah, and yeah, it was really nice to have that resource, you know, someone to kind of light the way. Yeah, they kind of showed me what terrain flying was really. Yeah, it was super nice. Yeah, super cool. And then, you know, in 2017, Jamie invited me to join him in Romania, and that's where I met him for the first time.
Before we started recording, I was saying how like this sport blows my mind because, you know, and I've said this before, but if this was any other sport, you know, any mainstream quote unquote sport, I wouldn't be able to reach out to you and get you to sit down on a podcast at 6 a.m. with me. You know, like it just doesn't happen, you know, and the fact that you have like a very similar story, at least like feeling wise, of, you know, you learned things through watching Jamie's videos and now you guys are friends and and equals, I mean, you might not think that. I don't know. I'm not speaking for you, but like from my perspective, like you guys are at the top of the sport along with, a bunch of other people, of course, but, and it's just that it's cool to hear you say that, like, you watched his videos and then now, years, 12 years later, you're flying with him in amazing places, at the same level, right? Like that's gotta be cool. It's gotta be really like a cool feeling.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I never expected that. Yeah, never expected that at all. Yeah, it's cool how like the longer you do something, the closer you get in like ability. You know what I mean? Like the even something so subjective as speed flying, like what is good in speed flying. That's up to the interpretation of the observer. Um, yeah, for me, good is just being fast and smooth, and consistent, like safe. You know, probably safety first, right? But like being able to do it for a really long time without getting hurt, I'd say that probably makes you good. And yeah, then beyond that, being fast and smooth. And I think, yeah, everyone has their own style. And that's really nice. Everyone has their own like way to play. Yeah, like I try to do as little as possible, and other people try to like find like as many gates as possible, to hit. And yeah, I think it's super nice. I enjoy watching all kinds of styles, all the styles, and I like that people see it differently. Yeah, yeah. For myself, I think I've always been quite. In general, I've been willing to let go of views, like world views, perceptions, ideas, and make space for new ones. Like I love being wrong, or figuring out that I'm wrong, because it allows me um, to uh, adapt, or to progress into something new. You know, um, so yeah, letting go of one old habit or way of doing something um, to upgrade, to take on a new style or approach is super cool. I think. Yeah, I find myself each year, getting current again, speed flying. I always have some kind of uh, new habit or new approach that I play with. Sometimes, just I notice something that I do, and then I wonder why I'm doing it. If it's helpful, or if it's even detrimental. Yeah. But also I'm quite um, relaxed in my flying. Like my body is very relaxed. I'm not trying to hit gates or anything like this. I'm not like aiming for stuff. I just do, what I see. Like I fly the same if it's the first time I fly it, or if it's the 20th or 30th time I fly it. I pretty much fly it the same. Maybe not the same gates. Like each flight, I pick the gates that I happen to be lined up with. But for sure, sometimes if I know a line well, I'm going to go for the same gates, because I know they are good.
Mm.
But I'd say in general, I'm very relaxed in my approach. I just fly what I see, and yeah, I don't really try very hard at all. Yeah. But as I said, I think the smaller your size, the easier it dives, the steeper it goes. But the more efficient you're going to need to be if you want to fly flat terrain.
Mm.
Um, and on the other side, the larger your size, heavier you are, the better you're going to perform in flat terrain, and the harder you're going to need to work in steep terrain. Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing to think about. I've actually never considered that, but I totally understand where you're coming from, and I obviously believe you, but I've never thought of that. And it just like you just opened up a whole nother like door in my brain. When you first said that earlier, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to dive into that. Like that's
Yeah.
I like that.
It's funny. It's like I'll never be a competitive XC pilot. I could take like 20, 30 liters of water and be competitive, but 100-kilo guy is always going to have an edge on me. There's no way I can go up from 59 kilos to 100 kilos without carrying a stupid amount of water, which obviously doesn't work for a hike and fly race.
Right.
So I'll never be competitive in cross country. Like, it doesn't mean I shouldn't enjoy cross country. I love flying cross country. I think cross country is the king of the king discipline of air sport. It's the most beautiful expression of flying. Especially cross country powered by thermals. Without any engine, without any power. It's beautiful. I think I expect that I'll fly a lot more cross country as I get older and less capable as far as speed flying with smaller sizes. It's just, I think it's my I'm pretty sure I have ADHD. Like I feel like chronically understimulated, and I think that's why I like speed flying, because it kind of it gets me to like a normal baseline of feeling like a normal person. Like speed flying doesn't stimulate me; it just like gets me to feel like kind of normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're preaching to the choir. I totally get it.
Yeah.
To the choir. Oh man.
It's funny. Yeah. I feel like, normal when I'm in the air. Like, just good. Yeah. But it's also like when I'm hiking, I love, like, I don't live to fly or like live to be in the air. I love being outside with mates and just, hiking for a line. I'm not attached to a flight or like doing a line or something when I'm outside. I really and this has actually become much more so in the last years, like a couple of years, and now I'd say I'm at the point where I couldn't care less if I fly or not. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
It's more convenient to fly down. It's comfortable to fly down, but beyond that, like, I couldn't care less if I fly or not. And this means that I can be at a takeoff with nearly zero bias for wanting to fly. You know what I mean? I can be at a takeoff and cloud could come in. I could be waiting for an hour or whatever for visibility to improve, and I really couldn't care less if I am able to fly in the end or not. Unless the descent was sketchy or something like that. I wouldn't be attached to any outcome specifically. I just enjoy being with my mates on the mountain and having a good time. And actually, those times when you can't fly, when you have to hike down or something, they're almost more memorable because they turn into epics. They turn into adventures. And when you're hiking up and the conditions are perfect and you basically know for sure that you're going to fly, it's almost like less adventurous. It's almost less fun because everything's going perfectly.
Yeah.
And
well, so I assume that your mindset on that has changed since your early days where you were flying every day in Chamonix with the gondola access, and like, I mean, there had to have been days in that years where you were flying every day that were like suboptimal conditions. What are your, I mean, like, relatively speaking, what are your red flags and like parameters when it comes to deciding to hike down? Because like I understand from your perspective, you don't mind the hike down, but I'm kind of bummed like when I can't fly because I hike for everything. Like there's no lifts that take me anywhere to fly, you know? So
Yeah, yeah,
for me, it's more of an investment of like, I really want to fly and I think it's going to be good based on the forecast. So I'm here. And then all of a sudden it's not, kind of bums me out. Um,
yeah.
Obviously that's my own issue, but I'm just curious, like, what are your like go, no go? And then has that margin changed as you've
Hmm.
progressed?
Hmm. Um, I very rarely hike down anyway because I I I do things that I'm pretty sure they're going to work. Um, so yeah, I think there are like the lines around here. I don't think I've like the best lines around here, like the biggest lines. I don't think I've ever um hiked down. I've The other day I was up at the Jungfrau Joch, and I went up there just to see if it was possible. I was not sure. It was 50-50, even less than 50-50, that I would fly. And I ended up taking the train down, happily, and I ended up going to a bar on the other side of the Kleine Scheidegg. I spent the afternoon chatting with a dude. I don't know where he's from. I just remember his name, Sorin, and had this wonderful conversation. For like we just sat on this bar in the sun on the terrace for like the whole afternoon and just talked. And yeah, the thing he left me with was dream big, and we exchanged numbers. And in his phone, he had me saved as dream big. And yeah, when he went off he skied down at some point, and I even cried like as he left, because I had this like such a uh, deep and inspiring conversation with him. Yeah, he was this like 54-year-old civil engineer, and he had his life figured out. He was very happy with his family, and yeah, very very well centered and grounded dude, And I was saying to him how it was just perfect that I was up there with the wing. I wanted to fly down from near that bar. There's a little cliff launch there, um, to land near a train station, um, and yeah, I actually preferred just to sit there with him for hours and talk, and I really was not attached to flying at all. It was more meaningful. I felt that talking with him was a more meaningful experience than going flying. It was more, it felt way better.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that a lot of accidents in the mountains happen because we are attached to a goal or an outcome, you know, and being like too attached to like this idea that you had when you woke up in the morning. Um, like being too passionate, being too driven can get you really hurt. It can also make you very good, but it can lead you to turn the heat up too high and just burn yourself, And I think being uh, less attached to making progress, becoming better, or like being productive, you know, I think it probably makes you more, uh, probably makes you safer. Yeah, yeah. Like I think you can overexpose yourself. Like now I'm current speed flying. I've been flying for just like a month speed flying after a break from October or whatever, through to a month ago. I was barely speed flying, uh, or like nothing. And yeah, now I'm current. Like I can fly. I might fly today. I might not. I don't know. I don't really mind what I do. I think being being less driven actually makes you safer. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Because I think you at some point you can overexpose yourself where you're getting diminishing returns. You're increasing the risk and you're not increasing the reward. So I think there's definitely a balance there. I do think, on the other hand, the better you get at these risk sports, the safer you are. Probably a weird observation is that in wingsuit base jumping or base jumping in general, the better you get, being more experienced doesn't necessarily make you safer statistically. But in speed flying, I think it does work like that. The better you get, the more experience you have, the safer you are. Until you overexpose yourself, I think you can overexpose yourself, like fly too much, and then you're just increasing the probability that you're going to get that something unlikely happens. Because, as I said, I have this approach to speed flying where I feel like I can do it for a long time, like hopefully my lifetime. Without being forced to quit or being killed. But there is that absolute risk, the stuff that can happen that just we can't really account for, despite giving ourselves a reasonable margin. It might be a 50% collapse, with a 6. It will spin probably. If you get a 50% collapse, you'll probably spin, and if it spins, you'll probably get twisted, and then you'll almost certainly be in an auto rotation, and being in an auto rotation with a 6 will most certainly be fatal. I have survived, very luckily. That's how I got in a wheelchair, actually. I went to a wingsuit exit in winter in Say Rouge, Diablerets, and it was icy. The wingsuit exit, like my friend Anton, he used a rope to get down to the exit, and then I told him, I think I'll go look for something else, next to the lift station. So I went back over to the lift station, and I found this, what I thought was a perfect takeoff. It was like the top of a ridge, like a little flat, almost like a plateau, like a platform, on the top of this ridge, on the edge of the cliff, and I looked over the edge, and I saw nothing, but the edge was kind of rolling over, and it was getting icy, just like the wingsuit exit that I decided that I wasn't going to go near. So I looked over as far as I could, and I didn't see anything. I knew it was a big cliff, so I was like, well, all good. I stepped back up towards the flat bit, and I had plenty of space to lay out my wing. I walked back and forth a little bit to step out the snow. It was like, like this much snow to run on, before it was hard pack underneath. Sure. And so it was, reasonably easy to launch. I had zero wind, absolutely zero. It was perfect conditions. And then I decided to go. So I popped up my wing and had a nice inflation. I got to the edge, and just as I'm reaching this maximum speed at the edge, I see a ledge below, me, and I see that there's no way I can fly over it. I'm going to hit it, and I'm going to hit the edge of it. So that's what happens. It was like maybe 3 meters below where I took my last step. Maybe 4 meters. But it was sticking out, just enough that it was. I was going to hit it, and with some speed, and I was going to hit the edge of it. I could see, so I added the tiniest bit of brake to try to soften the impact, and it was like a pillow of snow with rock underneath it, and I just hit it with my legs, and I as I hit the very edge of it, there was no way I could land on it. So I pushed off it, and because of the way I'd pushed off it, I had a full collapse. Like my lines lost tension, all of them. The glider completely collapsed, and then because I'd pushed off the rock with my left leg, the harness was asymmetric, So when the glider opened it up, it turned very hard towards the wall on my left, and I expected it to, if it would open, I expected, as long as I was looking away from the wall, like staying on a good heading, that I would maybe fly out of it. At this point I was not really thinking too much. I was just responding, but when it opened, it shot very hard. It turned very hard to the side, and it went without me. Like I didn't follow it with my shoulders because I didn't expect it to turn like that. And so then I had a half twist, and I was immediately in an auto rotation. I did 2 or 3 rotations, and I hit the snow like 100 meters below.
Wow.
Luckily, it had dumped like 2 meters of fresh powder.
That's a lot of snow.
So I hit. Yeah. So I landed in like 2 meters of powder on a 45-degree slope. That's why I survived the impact, and then I tomahawked for another 100 meters total.
Jeez.
And I stopped just before another cliff, like a smaller, steep gully, let's say, but I could just see like the terrain dropping away again, and I knew that I was on the edge of another cliff, and I remember I took my helmet off because I couldn't move my legs immediately. I didn't know what was wrong, really. I just felt like very, very injured, like I felt like I had like an hour or so to live. I felt like probably I had some internal bleeding. Probably I was really hurt. I felt like I was seriously injured, and I didn't really know what was broken. But I could barely breathe because I had a punctured lung, a broken sternum, fractured T7 and T8, and then a pulverized L2.
Wow.
And that was where my spinal cord injury was. That was the level of my lesion. And so I basically, I think I had a fractured pelvis as well. I was like really hurt.
Yeah.
In a bad way. Yeah. And but I stayed conscious and aware, so I took my helmet off and put it in the snow to like make a stand, like a platform, something I could lean on so that I wasn't sliding away. Because I couldn't use my legs. I was just like perched on a steep, 45-degree slope, and trying not to slide off, I think I was kind of wrapped up in my wing a little bit as well, so it was really lucky I didn't slide off the next cliff. Yeah. And then I took my gloves off to get my phone out of my jacket, and I remember just seeing my gloves slide away, and at that moment I was like, oh, whoops, that was maybe a mistake. But I ended up getting frostbite in my fingers that day, and it took like a year for me to get the feeling back in my fingertips.
Wow.
Yeah, but if it hadn't been that cold, I would not be walking. Actually, I think the main reason that I'm walking today is that it was -20, roughly, and that reduced the swelling in my spine at the spinal cord injury, and that swelling is normally what causes the nerve damage, which results in loss of function, loss of feeling, loss of movement.
Wow.
Yeah, so actually, like getting straight in it, like having a spinal cord injury on a hot day in summer, is the worst, because you're going to this heat is going to cause swelling, excessive swelling that causes the spinal cord injury. So maybe the spinal cord doesn't get cut or damaged in the moment that you fracture or break your vertebrae. Maybe it's more likely that the swelling around that injury is going to cause damage to the spinal cord.
Wow.
So the cold is probably the only reason, or like the main reason, that I'm walking today. So
The snow
yeah,
saved you twice.
very lucky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were able to call for rescue, and the helicopter, they came and got you? Like what happened from there? I mean, you were obviously there for a while. Or maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cold.
Like an hour. I think I was there for an hour, between 45 minutes and an hour. I think
pretty quick.
from the moment I impacted, I think an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, which was
That's quick.
Actually very lucky. Yeah. It felt like a really long time. But actually it was very lucky. So I got my phone out of the pocket, took my gloves off, got my phone out, but there was blood coming out of my face, like out of my nose. Like I think I cut my lip, and so there was blood on the screen, there was snow on the screen, and I just I tried to call rescue, but the phone wasn't working. I wasn't able to do that, so I just put the phone away in my pocket, because there were cables. There were the lift cables a couple hundred meters above me, like 250 meters above me. So I just waited for the gondola, and then the lift operator saw me, and he stops the gondola, opens the window, and shouts, "Hey, bro, are you okay?" And I could, with a punctured lung, I could barely talk. I could barely shout, but I just managed to let out a help, and a couple of times, and then I don't think I got a response from him, but maybe 15, 20 minutes later, a pisteur ski patrol comes to me, and I remember he was quite scared, because he was well aware that we were just above another steep, gully, probably 55 degrees or something. Like if you fall down that, it's he didn't want to fall down that, and neither did I. So he skied below me, and he stepped out, a flat for him in the powder, and kind of just held me there, But I remember he was very, he was a little scared, and I was surprised, because I wasn't really scared,
Sure.
I didn't feel like I was too exposed, but I had a lot of adrenaline. I was kind of shocked to be alive, and that I remained conscious, and I also didn't really understand what was going on. Like I remember that I couldn't move my legs, but I didn't even know what it meant. I hadn't considered that I had a spinal cord injury, really. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that I was very lucky to be alive, and I knew that I was going to need some more luck to be able to survive whatever happened to me, because I knew that probably I had some internal injuries, and maybe some bleeding. I couldn't feel what was wrong. I just knew that I was very hurt. So I was not even that, I was just breathing, trying to stay present. But I was quite quite unsure of what was going on. But yeah, he very kindly gave me his gloves as well.
Oh,
At some point, I told him, man, my hands are cold, and yeah, he gave me his gloves for a while, and that was very kind of him. I wonder if he got frostbite as well. I expect
possible.
it's very possible. It's
Yeah,
very possible, yeah. So
certainly.
that was very kind of him. Very kind of him. Yeah. So don't throw your gloves away, even if
Yeah.
you want to call for a rescue.
That might be one of the takeaways from that story, man. That's scary stuff. But I mean, man, what a miracle. I mean, for lack of a better term, like a miracle. I mean, you not only did you survive that, but you recovered to of almost 100%. It sounds like very very high functioning use of your legs. Obviously, as you show on a regular basis. Um, man, yeah, I don't know. It's like, is it worth it? Like, of course, right? Because you're doing something that you love. But man, like I don't know. Is anything in life worth it? Because there's risk. You walk out the door, there's risk. You get out of your bed, there's risk. So of course it's worth it. Like you gotta follow your passions, and you've got to do what makes you feel alive, what makes you the happiest. That's within reason, of course. But I mean, it's things like like that story, like your story, where it's a reminder of the reality of what we love to do, and that it can be everything. It can take everything and also give you everything simultaneously,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
interesting but profound.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to play, and I think it's important to to engage in some kind of risk, to take some kind of risk. It doesn't have to be in sport. It can be financial or whatever you're passionate about. But I think it's fun. I think it's important to have fun, basically.
Mhm.
And
I agree.
yeah, yeah. I think our lives should be memorable and unpredictable. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. You're a very, I mean, I already gathered this, just through following you, but you're a very well spoken and very profound in like the most positive way possible human being. Like you're very cool. Like
Thanks, man.
flying, and then outside of that, it's like I have admired what you do for a long time. It like I said earlier, like before I started speed flying, I was already following you, which is cool. And I'm not like trying to be like a fanboy or whatever, but it is really cool that you were willing to sit down and have this conversation. I think there's been so many things that you've said in this last 2 hours that I think I want to write down, just so I can reference it, right? Because yeah, I mean, I don't know. Thank you so much for
Thank you, man. Thank you, Victor.
of
It's been a
course.
really. I'm really glad we sat down for this chat. It's so nice to do something like this completely unscripted and to see where the conversation flows. It's yeah. Thank you for guiding us along on a really interesting and authentic journey. Thank you so much, man. It's been I do love to talk deeply and think deeply about what it is we're doing, why we're doing it. Yeah, maybe that's why I like to take part in such activities where on one side it seems like we're taking unnecessary risk. Like we're taking a lot of risk, and for what? We can also just go skiing, which is actually also risky, but we can also do something else that stimulates us without the objective danger. why take the risk? Why do something that reduces our probability of living a long, healthy life? What do we have to gain from it? And I think that if you want to do this kind of activity, you have to answer that yourself. No one can answer it for you. If it feels right, then probably it is right. You just need to figure out why. And I think a lot of us do things with this subconscious awareness that it's the right thing to do, but we don't really know why. Normally we'll do something before we know why we're doing it. And I think it's really nice if we can take the time to try to figure out why we're doing it, even though we don't have to. We don't have to think deeply about what we're doing. We don't have to ask questions. Most people might not. But I think for me personally, it's one of the deepest joys. Wondering how things work, why things work, why so many forms in the universe are the same. Why does everything work in the same way? Why is the universe so uniform in so many ways? In so many principles and laws. Yeah. I think for me, doing this kind of activity is just a inspiration to ask these questions. You know what I mean? It's just like putting us in the position where we have to figure out, like, wait, why am I doing this? Why am I even taking these kind of excessive risks? Why can't I just live a life like most other people? Where they successfully mostly mitigate or minimize the risks, to maximize the probability of a long lifetime. But the cliche may be true. Actually, it doesn't really matter how long you live at all. You don't need to measure your lifetime in years. And I think that's quite interesting, because when you say something like that, people assume that you or might believe that you lack respect for your own life. And I would argue that that's their projection, and that's their limited understanding of what life really is, and or that's just their perception of what life is. That's their projection onto you. And I think the highest form of being is being the most open to other ideas. The highest form of being is being the most accepting of others and others ways to live. And yeah, I feel like this desire to share knowledge is a double-edged sword, kind of, because it's on one hand it's a way for the ego to assert itself, as an authority, and on the other side it's genuinely a nice. It's a way to add value to the community, and I think that, like, the best leaders are the ones that don't really want to lead, and probably the best coaches might be the ones that don't really want to coach. I think it's nice when you can go flying with someone that doesn't really care too much what you're doing or how you're doing it. They just want you to be safe. like I've learned recently, actually, coaching for me is not about trying to help someone fly more like I'm flying at all, you know, and that was never really the idea. For me, coaching is just simply helping someone do a dangerous thing as safely as possible, you know, and they can ask as many questions or as few questions as they please, as long as we're doing it safely. Everything else is really up to them, you know. Some people like to do things without getting better at it, you know. Some people like to do things asking as few questions as possible and just out there, and they're just out there to have a bit of fun with their friends, you know. And others like to really dive deeply into the technique and analyze their flying and try to make progress as efficiently as possible. And I think both is admirable, you know. I think both is authentic, and it doesn't really matter, you know. I always thought that the deeper you got into something, the better you would get, and therefore the better you're doing it, the better your approach. But now I think that actually it doesn't really matter how good you get at something. It doesn't change your worth, you know. And I think that I personally felt, for me, growing up with speed flying, kind of growing up, you know, I moved to Chamonix and I kind of found my identity in speed flying. For the first time in my life, I was good at something, you know. For the first time in my life, I was one of very few people doing something, you know, and this kind of fed my ego a lot. It satiated my ego, let's say. It really developed my identity, myself, my sense of self, you know, that I hadn't really had before. Because and I definitely felt that I kind of lacked some kind of sense of being until that point. But I had to go through this very long process of reckoning with it, you know. And I think it's not been that long that I have a healthy balance of identity, self, you know, ego, and also like spirit, you know, like this. Yeah, I'm not sure what you'd call it, really. Maybe spirit is a good word, you know, like soul, let's say. Yeah, yeah. I think we need both, you know, charisma and identity. This knowing who we are is very important, and also a connection with our higher self is also you know, important. And I think, yeah, we really need both. And now I'm way more accepting of you know, those that are where I was, you know, just a few years ago, you know, that are trying to prove themselves, trying to figure out who they are. Because I you know, I kind of looked down on it and tried to ignore the fact that I was right there, you know, not so long ago, you know. And but I think it's actually it's okay. It's okay to figure out who you are. It's okay to try to challenge yourself, and I think it's mostly a lot more authentic than many outsiders might see. You know what I mean? This proving to yourself, this pushing yourself, trying to get better at something. It's just the process of becoming, you know. And I think a lot of the time we need this kind of process to grow into our best selves, our full selves, you know. So I don't think there's anything wrong with becoming, with pushing and trying to grow. It's just, I think it's important that we ask the question and try to become aware of why we're doing it, or if it's really feeding us, you know.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
What's your why is very important. I agree.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That was beautifully
yeah.
put.
But
There's yeah. No, I mean, I think you nailed it. That was very man. I'm just gonna like sit with that. You're like talking straight to my soul, and probably everybody else. That I hope. I mean, I hope like people are getting out of this what I am because goodness, this is this has definitely been special. And I would
oh,
love
cheers, Victor.
cheers. I would love to do this again, and maybe next time in person. That would be cool. I was like, I wish like there was a
Yeah,
way to teleport, but maybe find myself out in Europe sometime. I'll I mean the podcast stuff will come with me for sure, and yeah, it'd be
yeah,
cool.
man.
It'd be cool.
Yeah, man. I'd love to hang out in person. We can definitely do something. Uh, maybe in the summer if you have time. Yeah, I'm super keen for that. That's I've really enjoyed our conversation, man. I like that you are um you're a deep thinker and so open and able to listen and retort. It's it's been a really nice conversation. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you.
Me too, Joey. Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I mean, likewise. I could sit and talk to you all night, or all day in your neck of the woods. It's crazy. You're actually
Yeah,
tomorrow. I'm today. I don't know, or you're today and I'm yesterday. I'm not really sure. The time change
yeah,
confuses me. Um,
yeah.
but
It's 11 o'clock. It's 11. It's getting to 11:15 at your time on your time, huh?
yeah, wow, wow, time flies.
Mm,
That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't even paying
yeah.
attention, but yeah, it's all good.
I'm so happy that now we've had this beautiful conversation, and now I'm going to go do something with my friends.
Nice.
To this is such a perfect, beautiful start to the day.
Oh, well, it's a great way to bookend my day too. So I once again thank you, and yeah, look forward to doing it again, and we'll hopefully get some flying in someday. That'd be pretty sweet. Get to
Yeah,
find
man.
someone that I look up to, like kind of like you to Jamie back in the day. It'd be very similar scenario
Oh, bro.
from my perspective. So
Oh, bro. Well, thank you. But I think we're all the same. We're all the same. We've all got gifts, and yeah, it's super nice that we can just see eye to eye and enjoy sharing it. Super cool.
agreed.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Of course. All right. Well, I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Yeah, man.